So, without a doubt, it is a crazy time right now. A lot of people are worried, afraid, concerned, preparing for the likely possibility that, based on what we have already been told and we have already seen, and what is being predicted and projected to happen, possibly here in the very near future, is that Friday could be a day of disaster. Friday could be a day of which we see banks collapse, financial institutions fail, FDIC coming in, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation coming in and taking control of the banks, their assets, your money, but also people not being able to receive their paychecks. Now, interestingly enough, the most concern that I receive is probably 60-40 split, but business owners are very worried. Small business owners are afraid. Not so much that the banks will wipe them out, but the banks will put them in a position where they will be prevented from being able to pay their employees. They know how much the paychecks mean to the workers every single week, every 2 weeks, or however often they get paid. And much like the question that was asked, for instance, if you were to experience a disruption in your income as a small business owner by way of Silicon Valley Bank collapse last week, preventing and halting payments from Etsy to sellers, do you continue to conduct business? Do you continue to fulfill orders? Do you continue on business as usual, hoping that the glitch is fixed, the problem is solved, a resolution is made, and you are made whole? For instance, Wells Fargo wasn't able to process direct deposits last Friday, and we saw that all over the news. It was a glitch. But on the other end of that are the people who have worked to receive this money, who count on this money, who rely on this money, who so desperately need this money. They're the ones who are going to feel the greatest pain. However, then the question then becomes, well, if the small businesses and these small business owners are trying to determine and develop strategies for continuing on in business without receiving their compensation, although it should be received at some point in time, the train theoretically has derailed or it's at least off schedule. What do you do? Do you keep working? Do you give up? Do you interrupt the progress that you've made? Interestingly enough, I actually had this question shared with me today from a friend who had to make a similar choice and decision of his own, which ultimately meant interrupting the progress that he has been making with his business, with an additional business, ultimately a diverse income stream that will eventually become a passive income stream if allowed to, but basically had to make a choice and decision. Do I halt? Do I pause? Do I indefinitely table and put a pin in this until there's clarity? Or do I keep pushing, keep working with the presence of mind that I will end up ultimately receiving everything that I've worked for, if not more? It's a decision. It's a business decision. Now, businesses, small businesses, depending on what their financials look like, the strength of these small businesses, the size of their operation, their overhead operating costs, their cash flow, will play a part in these choices. Much like the conversation we had about businesses going cashless in a restaurant industry and the cashless payment system going down. Do you turn patrons away? What do you do about the patrons who've already eaten that can't pay their bills? These are business decisions that you have to make that will ultimately make or break your business moving forward. Yet, on the other side, the employees, the people, the workers, many of which don't have that ability to continue on waiting. Okay. Granted, there are some who are in a position where they can. They have worked hard. They've been diligent, gotten lucky. But there's a caveat there. The harder you work, the luckier you get. So I don't want that to be misinterpreted and misunderstood. But they're in a position of comfort. They're insulated, not only from inflation and the likely risk of being on the brink of a recession, job loss, layoffs, terminations, hiring freezes, and higher inflation, price hikes, you name it. Bank collapses, funds being frozen, locked on exchanges, lost in investments. They are insulated. They are protected. They are diversified. Therefore, if they don't receive a paycheck on Friday, it won't be the end of the world. They have the resources. They have the means to continue on for potentially weeks, months, if not years. Remember, folks, you want to make sure that you have an emergency fund for at the very least 1 month's expenses. Granted, Dave Ramsey and his initial baby step is to secure yourself $1,000 that you can have at any given time. Now, granted, we would look at the current situation that we're in and say, we don't want to keep that $1,000 in the bank. Okay. This is just a precautionary method. Better being prepared. This is about preparedness. Okay. Financial preparation. Better to have it, not need it, than need it and not have it. Therefore, if we're going by Dave Ramsey's baby step method, then the step number one is to secure $1,000 for an emergency. Plain and simple. And keep it in a safe place, because the bank may not necessarily be the safest place to keep your money. However, from there, we want to move on to, depending on who you speak with, having 3 to 12 months of expenses available and liquid assets available at any given point in time. Why? Well, let's just say you're in a high-risk industry at a time of which we're experiencing high inflation, crazy developments and breaking news announcements and bank failures and collapses and cryptocurrency scams and all sorts of impacts, negative impacts to your income, your family's ability to survive, your livelihood, on top of a high-risk career that may be, let's just say, vulnerable to an interruption in your income. Tech industry, trucking industry, basically retail industry, depending on what you're selling. So basically that means that you're probably going to be on the higher end of the spectrum towards the end of 12 months, because if you were to lose your job, your income, your likelihood, your percentage of that possibility happening, coming true, is greater, while being in an industry that is already at risk. So the ability for you to replace that income and reproduce it is going to be harder, if not impossible. Therefore, I would say 12 months is going to be your target. Whereas if you were, let's just say, in the medical field, maybe 3 months, it's theoretically a recession-proof industry. However, there can be pitfalls. Okay. For instance, Fulton County is investigating Wellstar. Okay. Whereas if, depending on where this goes, it may have an impact on the employees there. However, they would easily, more than likely, be able to pivot to another healthcare industry or location in that niche. Granted, they may have to relocate, but I think that the opportunities are far greater than others. Real estate, granted, you may not be laid off as a real estate agent, but you're also 100% commission. Therefore, if we were to see extremely high interest rates or extreme volatility in the markets that prevented people from buying and selling homes, that would have a direct impact to your ability to earn income. Therefore, I would say you would probably be towards the 12-month emergency overhead expense safety net cushion. Just as an example. So there are some folks who have the ability to do that. They have worked hard. They've made good money. They've invested their money. They haven't wasted their money. They don't carry a lot of debt. They have great budgets, sound budgets, and they understand the situation that we're in, where now is the time where you're going to want to be more responsible, more financially responsible and diligent in positioning yourself for success pre-recovery, okay? Now, for the latter, those who live paycheck to paycheck, one paycheck away from being broke, homeless, actually really just you make enough money to be poor, possibly, facing eviction, foreclosure, having to live out of your car, out of your truck, becoming homeless, wondering where your next meal is going to come from, have no money in savings, have no credit to rely on, have no credit card, or if you do have a credit card, it's an extremely high interest rate. The balance is probably maxed out. You're drowning in debt. Your credit's shot. Very low score. Can't get approved for anything. You've borrowed money from any and everybody you know. They will not allow you to borrow anymore. And basically, all you've got is that paycheck. Which then, like these small businesses, you have to make a choice. You have to make a decision. If Friday is the day, which I'm not saying that it is, but I am saying that the FDIC warned that the banks would collapse on a Friday. And last Friday, we saw a bank collapse. History tends to repeat itself. Will it be specific? Will it be immediate? Will it be something that affects you? No one knows the answer to that. Not now, at least. Looking back, hindsight is 2020. But what I can say is that despite what may happen in the future, despite what may happen tomorrow, what may happen Friday, what may happen next week, next month, next year, I want to make sure that I'm doing my best to insulate, protect, secure diversity, security, cash flow, earning more money, spending less than I make, budgeting, eliminating debt, carrying no debt, saving and investing, just for the hypothetical what if SHTF, S hits the fan scenario. I don't want to be wiped out. I don't want to be, at risk. I don't want to be worrying, panicking, struggling, in fear. I don't want to, possibly lose what I've worked for because of a glitch in the system, a bump in the road, someone else's fraudulent and illegal activity that then locks up, ties up, and disrupts my income, my money that I've earned that now the bank can't process, which forces me to face who knows what, Therefore, diversity, security, cash flow. If you've got diversity and your bank, your primary bank, gets impacted where they can't pay you your paycheck, well, you've got diversity, whereas you'll have funds in another place, another area. You'll have a backup plan, a plan B or plan C, maybe plan D. The security, again, the $1,000 minimum, Dave Ramsey, baby step number one, needs to be secure. And in my opinion, right now, a bank is not secure and where I want to keep my emergency fund. It's just not, for the fact that it could be locked. It could be frozen. It could be seized. It could be, there could be withdrawal limits placed on ATMs. Banks could not open. They could deny you, saying that they don't have the cash as a result of bank runs. Anything is possible. So I want to make sure that part of my diversity plan includes security. So I always have somewhere to go. And then the cash flow is going to be key because, like I said, you got to keep the paychecks coming week after week, month after month, year after year, whatever interval you're on. And that cash flow can come in a way of diversity as well, through multiple income streams, passive income streams, dividend returns on investments. The list goes on and on, folks. Side hustles, small business opportunities. All I'm saying is that we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 30 seconds, okay? But we can plan and prepare, because Hope is not a plan. Hope is not a strategy. What we can do is prepare for the storm that's coming, which the storm I've been telling you guys about since I started this channel February of last year, 2022. It's going to be a financial storm. It's going to be a financial shit show, okay? That's what we've been gearing up for a while now, okay? But it's now becoming very clear, very evident that is what's happening. Is it on purpose? Is it intentional? Is this part of a reset? Is this to wipe out a certain group, a collective group of people, a socioeconomic class on this path to ESG, social credit, CBDC, central bank digital currency? Does it push people into cryptocurrency? Does it push people to XRP, Ripple, Bitcoin, BTC, ETH, Ethereum, Doge, Shiba, USDC, altcoins? If it does, it doesn't matter. The same rules still apply: diversity, security, and cash flow. And if you're involved in cryptocurrency and you don't have security by way of cold storage, please click the link down below. Check out the Ledger Nano X. I don't care if you buy it, but just check it out, okay? Get yourself a cold storage wallet. Secure your keys. Without the keys, you don't really own that token. You don't own your crypto, okay? You're still vulnerable. Leaving it on the exchange is like putting your $1,000 safety emergency reserve in the bank. It's not safe. So, folks, I just want to share that with you. Maybe this has answered some questions, a lot of which have been coming through comments and chat and email and Patreon and a variety of sources. A lot of people have been asking me personally, a lot of clients that I work with on a regular basis. There's concern. Reason it's just concern. There's worry, there's fear, there's anxiety. A lot of people are in denial, and they'll look at the situation. They'll say, well, no, none of this is real. It's not happening. It's not happening to me. You're just fear mongering. You're just alarming. Look, although it may not have happened to you, it doesn't mean that it won't. But it also doesn't mean that it will. But by sharing this information and addressing what's happening, what's occurring, discussing these events, and sharing ideas of ways to protect and prepare, in my opinion, is not fear-mongering. It's not alarming. It's smart. It's sound. It makes sense. Pretty much anything and everything I do, I go into with a plan. A primary plan and a backup plan at the very least. And I would say that with that being the case, it has allowed me to get to the point of which I am today, which I am happy to be where I am today. Very happy. And I also know that there's a lot of people who don't exercise the same judgment. They don't necessarily plan and prepare, but they also never really had anyone tell them, show them, help them, explain to them, warn them, and it's not their fault. But I will say that if you are receiving this information on my videos, on Squirrel Tribe's videos, on G.I. Justin's videos, on Ron's videos, on anybody's videos, on YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, whatever platform you're watching, if you're receiving this and you're saying to yourself, I've never known that, no one ever told me that, I wish I knew this growing up, or anything like that, then please don't ignore it now. Don't ignore the likely possibility of these two very important things I'm going to share with you before I leave. I'm here to pick up a suitcase out the garage. We need to pack up and go because we're about to go on vacation. It's kind of weird saying that you're going to go on vacation when every day is literally a vacation and you live in a vacation town. It's really kind of odd to me. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. But the two things I want to share with you guys is, if you want to know more, this is not the two things, but if you want to know more, I think Squirrel Tribe is actually going to vlog a lot of the vacation travels coming up on Squirrel Tribe 2.0. So check that out. But the two things I want to share with you is, one, don't think that I'm not doing this on purpose, I swear. But go check out G.I. Justin's video, because him and Squirrel Tribe did a video yesterday discussing the impacts of what's happening, what's likely to occur, the banking situation, BlackRock's involvement. Very, 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 very informative video. Go check it out. It's on G.I. Justin's channel. I'll link it down below. I may put it as an end screen on this video. But number one, do not look at what's happening and think that it can't happen to you. Therefore, you don't prepare for it, and ultimately you're vulnerable and highly at risk if and when it does. Okay. Odds are it will. The big question mark will be, does it affect you? You know, because we saw what happened last week. It happened. We can't ignore the fact that it happened, but did it affect you? And actually it did affect you. It affected everybody in some way, shape, or form, but some people were affected immediately and very impactfully. It was very clear, very apparent. But then the second thing is that I don't want you to also look at what's happening and what's going on around you and thinking that it can't happen to you either. And you're like, well, Kevin, you just said the same thing twice. Well, what I'm saying is, I don't want you to think that none of these banking collapses and FDIC takeovers and exchange lockouts, all these negatives in the news and the media in the world that are happening, I don't want you to think that it can't happen to you, therefore don't prepare. But all the positives, the people who have been able to secure high levels of income, savings, investing, building wealth, multiple diverse streams of income, the folks that have 12 months of safety net reserve, maybe multiples of that in diverse, secure, and cash flow producing asset positions, hard asset alliance, gold, precious metals, physical, tangible goods, assets that are worth value, produce, make passive income, have multiple streams of income, make respectable amounts of money on a regular basis through a variety of sources. I don't want you to look at those either and think that those can't happen to you either, okay? Because they can. They can. But even still, with those, you have to plan and prepare for it. If you want to know more, by all means, feel free. Reach out to me, contact me below, join the network. But regardless of what happens, in my opinion, I think it would make sense to be financially ready and prepared for it. And the beauty of it is you'll have it, not need it, not have it. Therefore, if we were to see a collapse, some sort of banking interruption, some failure, some catastrophic financial, economic crisis that wipes out families, although I think that's what the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell, really wants, you'll be fine. You'll have ways to pivot. You can call an audible, okay? You can still run that play. You can still win the game. You can still score. But at the same time, if it doesn't happen or it doesn't blatantly impact and affect you, then even better. Everything that you had, that you've worked for, that you've prepared for, even better. You see what I'm saying? You guys take care. Be safe. I'll see you real soon. Bye.